Hey everyone, it's Becky Danzenbaker, and I am editing this photo of baby girl Riley. She's so cute and she has so much hair. She was actually awake for a good portion of her photo session, so we went ahead and wrapped her up so that her arms were secured down, which will keep newborns more comfortable because if they get their arms out, then that actually keeps them awake longer because they'll startle themselves up because they can't control their arms yet. So her arms are tucked down and they're kind of under her body. And I was trying to get some photos of her looking at me. This was the closest that I got. So she was looking up. I got some really nice sparkle in her eyes. But she does have a sort of furrowed brow here, which makes her look a little uncomfortable or annoyed or confused, which is why newborn photographers usually don't get photos of newborns with their eyes open because they will end up looking confused or surprised or worried a lot of the time because they're just making a whole bunch of different expressions. So I wanted to go ahead and try to ease her expression a little just by working with the mechanics of how, or with the understanding of how our bodies work when we furrow our brow. So what I'm going to be doing is using the Dodge and Burn tool on the left-hand side. The Dodge tool looks like a white magnifying glass or a white lollipop, and that is what is going to make our shadows brighter, so it increases exposure. The Dodge tool is also on the same palette. It is the little hand, pinchy hand, that makes things darker. And then there's also, and this might come in handy, the sponge tool, which increases or decreases saturation. Sometimes when you increase shadows or brighten shadows, you'll also bring out more saturation of color and you'll need to desaturate the color. So let's see what we can do. First, what I'm going to work with is just where the furrowed brow has darkened shadows or created shadows and also created highlights. So when you furrow a brow, your eyebrows will come out and they'll go down kind of in the corners. I don't know if you can see where my brush is, but they'll push down close to the nose and then they'll also pull out. And when they pull out, that'll catch highlights on the top of the brow that wouldn't normally be there if you had a relaxed brow. It'll also create a shadow over top of where that highlight is. So we're going to first start with the shadows by using the Dodge tool. I'm going to take the Dodge tool, zoom in, whoa, that's too far, and try to lighten up where there's extra shadows where they wouldn't normally be if you had a relaxed brow. So you're going to start to see a difference right away when I lighten those shadows to make it look less of a furrowed brow. So I'm just trying to increase the shadows to where the areas are around it to make it all blend in. What this is also doing, which is really nice of the Dodge and Burn tool, is that it keeps all of the skin texture. Even though I've already done some skin smoothing, I'm not obliterating the skin texture. I'm just increasing the brightness of those areas. Okay, so that's pretty close. And then I'm going to switch over and I'm going to use the Dodge tool to take away the highlights over the eyes that shouldn't be there. So again, I'm just kind of trying to work into what the skin around it looks like to make all of this look like it blends together a little bit better. Okay, so this has already made a huge difference. I'm going to go back to where I started to using Dodge and Burn just to show you, or can try to see where we started from. So I did a whole bunch, so I didn't go back. So we'll go to the original. This is where I started at the very beginning before I started working on this image, and then where I've ended up. So you can see already her expression's much better. The last thing I'm going to do to work on the furrowed brow is to change the brow shape itself. To do that, I'm going to do the liquify tool, which I'm going to just jump in with my little Wacom tablet. It has little shortcut keys. So I'm going to choose that filter, but it's up under the filter menu if you don't have a Wacom tablet and have that shortcut saved. And it's already on the nudge tool up here, so I'm just going to nudge her eyebrow up where she's pulled it down. And you have to be really subtle or you'll get more of a surprised look, and I just want this to look normal. That did pull up the inner crease of her eyelid just a little, so I'm going to push that back down so that that's in the normal spot. Now if you'll notice also, like while I'm here, the eye on the left is a little more open than the eye on the right, so I'm going to go ahead and use the nudge tool as well to try to get the eyes open to the same spot. And it's okay if they're a little bit different because everybody's eyes actually open a little bit differently. Some people will open one eye more than the other on a frequent basis. That's kind of a common thing. But that kind of looks a little bit more symmetrical. So it doesn't look like I kind of caught her with her eyes like halfway open. So now it looks a little even more normal. So I'm going to save that. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. So again, if I go back to where I first started playing around with this image in Photoshop, I was here and I just ended up there with a nice, smooth, open expression without it looking like she's concerned or worried, just by manipulating the highlights and the shadows of the brows and just making some very small adjustments in the shape of the brow. I hope that was helpful and you have fun playing around with that in your own newborn photography. Thanks, bye.